Welcome to Hashtag Social. I'm Cole.
And I'm Liv.
And we're virtual.
We're remote.
Between Liv's pregnancy and 12 inches of snow and sicknesses, we figured, hey, let's go online.
Yeah. Well, it was either that or trying to put it off another week because
yes.
And even if I wanted to go out there to the studio today, my car's literally snowed in. So
I'm sure they just took the plow and just came right behind you and just packed you in.
Oh yeah, they sure did.
That's
all right. This works.
Yes, this is actually probably how we're going to do it here for a little while, just depending upon what's going on. It's like a 45-50 minute drive for Liv to come here to record the episode, and it's the same both ways for both of us. So schedules are crazy and lots of stuff going on. So this is our best way to make sure we can keep some content coming towards you guys. So we appreciate your patience, and it's good to be back. So
it is.
We've got some good stuff for you today. We're gonna kind of talk about how to get organized, because that's a big part of getting your social media started, and then keeping it going at a good rate, and not forgetting the things that you need to do and keep your content coming at a regular pace. So
yep, absolutely.
Liv's got some good stuff for us tonight to go over. So
hopefully.
The last one we talked about engagement.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of briefly remember some of that. Maybe you want to recap a little bit, Liv?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about mostly, the things that you can take advantage of on Instagram. I think we mostly focus on Instagram and Facebook and kind of, marketing yourself that way, and different ways to just kind of use social media and ways to not use it. So that was basically, our last episode. As
you haven't listened to it.
Right, yeah. Like we said in previous episodes, or if you haven't heard this, a lot of our episodes kind of build on each other. We keep adding to it. So, not that you can't just listen to one episode and kind of understand where we're at, where we're coming from. But it is nice to kind of get a whole overall picture by listening to all of the episodes. So
it's the truth.
What that's worth.
Before we get into the meat of it tonight, or today, whenever you're listening to it, it's tonight for us. I apologize. But we got a couple things on the news to talk about. First thing being, and I don't know if you've seen this or not, Liv, but Instagram is testing the removing of being able to share something from your feed to your story.
Really?
Yes. I've actually seen a couple people throw something up and just say like, hey, they're testing this, and that some of the people who have a higher following, some of the heavier users are seeing this come through. I understand probably why they're doing it, but I think that's going to disrupt a little bit of the flow for a lot of people.
Interesting. So anytime that you post something on your feed, you won't be able to share that on your story? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, essentially we're talking about getting rid of like new post.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yep. And from what I've read, I think what they're trying to do is just continually kind of, I guess, maybe like separate some of their features so that people will use stories for more creative content that's specifically aimed at that format, instead of, I think they said that for the majority of what people use it for is to repost something from a feed or their own personal feed.
Yeah, see, the one that I don't love the idea of is being able to share other people's things. Right?
You mean like being able to or not being able to?
I would be upset to not be able to share other people's things.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
like if
No, I
you
agree.
are, you know, supporting other people or you find something funny, like I don't think it's all just, hey, here's a new post.
Yes, and I think they said that the majority of it is that, but yes, there is. I think there's still that large amount of people who are doing that, which there's no. I mean, maybe they'll bring a repost option, where kind of like a retweet type of feature to the
Okay.
feed.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe that's what they're setting us up for. I don't know, but I agree because I mean, when you like, just for instance, right? If you post something, I'm like, hey, I want to put this out, or obviously when we put stuff on the hashtag social site,
Right.
it's nice to be able to go, hey, go check this out, go to our profile, and
Yeah.
it would suck to lose that ability.
I know. Yeah. Oh,
Hopefully the testing goes bad.
I know. Either that or they give us some sort of like alternative for that.
Right.
So,
I don't know. We'll see. Um, the other thing I've got on here is YouTube Shorts. It's interesting to see everybody branching out and just having like, 6 different areas of where you can put content.
yeah. I mean, like within one app?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're like, I mean, for somebody like myself, and I know for you as well, you go, okay, so I've got this video, right? And you go, okay, well now I've got it in landscape, and then I need to have a vertical, and then I need to make sure that it can be seen as a square and as a
Yep.
rectangle, and then it blocked off, and you're like, I've made 12 different pieces for one piece of content.
Oh. Oh my gosh, seriously.
And I know YouTube has its own version of like stories. I think it's a very similar feature.
So is that what Shorts is?
Nope. So it's an additional.
Totally different.
Yeah.
My word, I can't keep up.
Yeah. So these are specifically. Let's see here. If I remember correctly, so it's 60 seconds in length, and it's presented in a vertical format. So, and it would be also put into the home feed of everything, and I'm sure you'll probably see the majority of it on mobile.
Okay.
But again, just another thing to think about.
I mean, like I've seen people like update their story or update their feed, like post things on YouTube, just like a photo with like a caption or like almost like a status. I've seen that, which I wonder like how much people actually pay attention to those or interact with those. I don't on YouTube.
I'm like, keep going.
Yeah, and especially because I more times than not will, I'm following those people on Instagram. So I'm like, I've already seen, what you've posted now on YouTube.
It's redundant.
It is. But I mean, I guess there are people that are probably on YouTube that maybe aren't on Instagram or maybe aren't following those same people on Instagram or YouTube. I don't know.
Yeah, I think, and you and I, Liv and I were, I don't know, we got together a couple weeks ago, did kind of a couples thing, and we were all talking about like big people on Instagram. And when we were talking about who the top 5 were on Instagram following wise, I kind of did some searching on my side to look, who are some of the big YouTubers? Does that translate? And it doesn't translate, number for number. So again, maybe this is that opportunity for people who are big YouTubers to be able to go, here's some short kind of length content that we can just throw up, and that's mobile friendly. I think that's the other push, right?
Right. Yeah. More of the, like vertical format. Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah. Yep. Which it's funny as like a pseudo, I'm not gonna call myself a filmmaker, but working with one it's funny because I'm like, hey, we need to shoot more vertical stuff because that's what people are doing. He's like, I can't stand vertical format. And I'm like, well, I get it, but views.
That's actually so funny because obviously that's not my thing, right? Like doing video like you guys do. So I'm always like, let's do vertical. I can't do horizontal. I can't do it.
Which I get it. I'm more on your side than I am on the other, just because I know sometimes it's a lot nicer to have something that I don't have to flip or change, and it just kind of makes it nicer on that side, because most of the time we're on our phones.
Right. Well, and most things, you can just quickly do a horizontal crop on a vertical thing.
Yes.
If you had to,
But then we could start talking about resolution and
I know. That's why I said if you have to. You have no other option.
I'm gonna call you out. If I see that, I'm gonna call you out.
I know. I believe that.
So the last thing we got on the news is, and Liv and I were kind of talking about this before. I was surprised you didn't hear about this, but there are stories on Pinterest now. I don't think it's a full 100% wide rollout, because I have not seen it on my app. And I think maybe, again, we're talking people who have larger followings, kind of what I would call the higher up influencer types that are on these platforms. I think they usually get first dibs on beta features. So they have some examples. There's actually a really nice blog post on Pinterest's website with examples. And so I kind of messed with that a little bit. And the only thing I can tell, the only difference is it seems like the format's kind of the same, vertical. You can self-upload. So if you want to produce and then put up the content, you can. I don't remember what the length is, but it's just in addition to your pins. And this is a way to enable some video content within your profile on Pinterest. The example I saw, they were cooking, and it was cool. I'm not super into Pinterest, but I could see how it could be helpful.
See, so I don't have the feature on mine personally. So I wonder, but I mean, as I scroll through my feed, I have seen a couple of videos, but I more so assumed that was like ads.
Yeah, and maybe it's a combo. I don't know. Maybe the next time you see one, click on it, see what it does.
Not, paid as close of attention to it, because I guess I just thought they were ads. I don't know.
It seems pretty under the radar for the time being, but another opportunity.
Yeah, that's cool.
They're gonna suck you in and keep you.
Here. I know. I'm just sitting here like scrolling through Pinterest now.
Like regular day. Yeah. Oh. Pin.
I know. Yeah. It's really bad, especially as I'm helping plan for my own baby shower and like all of that. I'm like, all the Pinterest ideas.
Oh, I can only imagine. I don't think that Liv and I are friends on Pinterest. And it's probably because I'm scared to see her boards.
Hey, okay, you may actually appreciate them because they're very well organized. Very well. They're organized very well.
the organized Pinterest boards are very pleasing, don't get me wrong, but I can only imagine the sheer amount of pins.
Oh. There's a lot.
I will say that Pinterest is one of the apps that I kick myself the most for not thinking of, because it is genius.
It really is. It really is.
Out of all of them, I'm like, what a way to like just, oh no, we just piggyback off of Google, and you can take the images and just pin them to a virtual corkboard. It's like,
yeah,
what?
I know. Which, I was thinking about this the other day with Pinterest, because Pinterest is now, which maybe we should do a whole Pinterest episode, because holy moly,
I'm good with that.
There's so much now that people are, using Pinterest for in terms of marketing. There's so much there now that people are using for, marketing their business through Pinterest. So yeah, a lot. But what was I going to say? Right before
Pinterest episode.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's all we got for the news. So I'll let Liv start on some of this stuff about getting organized.
Oof.
which is my favorite.
Here we go. Um, yeah, so I think we've touched on this, you know, in previous episodes of, you know, having a clear idea of what it is that you are doing, you know, and talking about on your feed and what you really want to put out there and let people know. So once you've kind of gathered all of those things, you know, it's kind of time to dive into planning mode. And what I mean by that is showing up on social media regularly.
That's a hard word. I'm there with you. Regularly.
Showing up on social media regularly is so important. And I know we've touched on that before in previous episodes, but you know, the best way to show up on a regular basis is having a game plan. I'm sorry, I'm so nasally. I can't.
You're good. You need to take a break sometimes.
I feel like I sound worse than what I am. So, you know, I'm sure you've probably seen, you know, different apps that you can use to sort of plan out your content or be able to post your content through, you know, an outside app. It's really good to just, I mean, even if you're a paper and pencil kind of person, just sitting down and writing out a calendar of, you know, this is what I'm going to post for these days this week. You know, I'm going to post on the feed for this. This is what I'm planning on for Reels, maybe IGTV, and then stories as well. And I know that sounds sort of excessive, but then when it comes time to actually post, you're good to go. You have everything planned out, you know what's going out. It's almost sort of like budgeting and doing your bills. You kind of are like, you plan out where that money is going and when it needs to go out. It's along the same lines as that.
I've never heard it likened to that, but that works.
Yeah. So, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, and I mean, nothing.
This a lot.
Yeah, and Liv's helped me out a ton with this because, you know, I was my own self getting in the way. I put up these blocks of like, hey, like this isn't going to work. I don't like the way this looks. I don't like the way this feels. I don't like the wording, whatever it might be. And so a lot of my posting was being done just kind of like off the cuff, like, oh, okay, I'm feeling this today. I'm going to put this, I'm good. And it was just coming up with that part of it.
Yeah.
And the problem was there'd be plenty of days where you go, I don't have anything today. And then next day, you know, I'm just not feeling it. And then you get in this hole where you're going, I got nothing to post. I don't know what I'm doing. And then again, right, you start to see followers drop off. Engagement starts to look a lot worse. And, you know, your relevancy, all the above. It took me a very long time up until recently. And I do not use a conventional planning app, but for Triflix, we've got a nice little setup that I've made now where I can actually, you know, I plan ahead, not by a ton, but I'm like a week by week basis. Mm-hmm. And it makes all the difference, I mean, in the world. And as we get more content, it'll make it easier for me to plan it out further. And like, I'm slowly getting the hang of it. And I'm sure just a couple more meetings with Liv and I'll be able to, I'll have it down.
Yeah. And I'm not even saying that you necessarily have to have the whole month planned out. That's a little, you know, ambitious, but yeah, I mean, week by week, even if you sit down at the beginning of the week and you're like, all right, this is what I've got for the week, and plan that out. You know, it's just it's a good way to keep you accountable to, you know, showing up on social media and being regular, and being consistent.
Yep.
That word again, consistency.
It shows your seriousness. I mean, this is the same as any other job that you'll do. You know, it's going to be a lot more fun. But you have to hold yourself accountable and go, hey, I got to post on a regular basis. It makes all the difference in the world. So, I mean, we can't stress enough that having a plan helps. And not that there are probably a lot of people that go off the cuff, but the people who are really doing well out there on it, they're planned. All of that stuff is planned, and a lot of it way ahead than any of us would ever ever want to know.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. This is really funny. I remember back when Instagram was just starting to kind of become a thing, and be more like when influencers kind of started to, you know, come on the scene. I, you know, was sort of in that world. So I knew people who were kind of getting into it, and I would, you know, be talking with them, and they would, you know, do photo shoots, you know, of different outfits they were doing, you know, showing different accessories, all of these different things. They would plan a whole photo shoot to stockpile a ton of photos, so that way they could post them later as they wanted to. But if you remember when Instagram first started, it was like a post, you take the photo and you post it now. There wasn't as much as the like having a, you know, stockpile of photos and posting them as you wanted. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, no, it was like you shot that thing on your phone, you threw a filter on it, and boom, you were done.
Yes, all of the Instagram filters. Which,
oh my gosh.
I'm sorry, if you use the Instagram filters.
Why are you hating on that?
We need to chat.
Sometimes I think that it can be slightly appropriate. This is coming from someone who understands the photo editing process and does it on a daily basis. I will say I don't ever just use a straight up filter. If I use anything, I will actually go in and use their editing features to fully tweak, you know, highlights, shadows, contrast.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Like they're full on, you know, 2012 Instagram filters. Okay, we've moved past that, you know?
Oh, no, I love the ones with like the purple gradient. Oh my gosh.
So bad. Which, when I'm saying filters, I mean when you're actually posting on your feed, not on your stories, okay? For those who are curious. Anyway, so I was basically just saying, obviously Instagram was instant. You know, you took the photo, you posted it instantly.
Yep.
So when people started doing this like back pile, whatever stock of photos, you were kind of like, that's weird. And you're kind of fake for that. Like you don't look like that right now. You know what I mean? But that's like all Instagram is now. So for me to say all of that is basically to say it's okay to stockpile all of these photos and content. In fact, I would recommend it. Stockpile a bunch of stuff so that way you can plan out future posts.
Yes.
And it gives you time to, you know, put content together, put captions together, really kind of plan out what that's going to look like, content wise.
Do it.
Do it. And this is something that Cole and I, you know, have recently talked about, in terms of planning for my own personal one. I use an app. I don't know how what you call it.
Yeah, I could.
UNUM.
I know. I was like, I don't
know. But basically, you can link your Instagram account to that. So then it puts your feed in, and then you can start putting in photos to kind of map out what your feed is going to look like. You can also plan, or you can schedule posting from this app. I typically don't, because I will just do it manually. But if you know that like you struggle with, actually being on time for posting your stuff, you could use it for that. But it is really nice to see like a mock-up of what your layout, can look like on your Instagram feed. So I use that quite a bit. That's a really good way for me to plan. So then I see, okay, I've got like 10 photos now that I have stockpiled. Now I go through and figure out what I want captions to be, what reels I'm going to kind of put along, with those, as well as stories. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I wish I had a visual PowerPoint.
I know, right? I think the best way too, just if I can piggyback, but like it's a virtual, way of planning out your, like a visual virtual feed where you're like seeing it in the future. You're just like, hey, here's an empty block, and this is my post from the future, and that way you can see your feed as it goes before you ever post, which it's very nice for that. The one question that I had is I have given this app a shot. Does it do video?
Yeah, I mean, you can put in a video there. It obviously won't play the video, but it'll show you whatever cover of the video you want it to be.
Cool. Perfect. Yeah. So no, it's super nice. And I will add on to all this that finding good free planning apps, websites are hard to come by.
Yeah. That one's free, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say this one's free, so and I added it to our notes while we were talking. I think you might have saw it, but I think that one of the things we can do for you guys is throw together a list of like good planning apps.
Yeah.
And then we can put that out there. But I think then too, maybe we'll do a full episode on little apps that work for things like that, because Liv and I have very different websites and apps that we use to get the same essential product in the end. Is just planning ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are several different ways of going about it, so whatever works for you, but I guess for this episode we're kind of just word vomiting some of the ways you can go about planning content to get it out there.
Yeah, and I want to do more of what Liv is doing currently, where she's really planning it out visually. I haven't been doing as much of that because we're like, oh, we're editing this, and you don't know when it's going to be done.
Right.
And so I haven't been as far into it, but I mean, go to any feed that Liv manages, and it's it's very specifically laid out in a very visually pleasing way.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And it makes a difference. I mean, it's just like designing a website. I mean, if you're going to go to it, there's a layout choice for a reason.
Right.
Yeah. And that's engagement.
Yeah. And just depending too on what whatever your brand is, whatever your business is, there's different ways that you can make your layout to look like. And go ahead. You have something to say?
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay. For the class, Liv, what are your thoughts on posts where people will post like a series of posts that make up a picture within their feed on Instagram?
Like a series of 3 photos that once all 3 are posted, like it shows one photo.
Yep.
I like it personally.
Okay.
I will say I think it probably does a little bit better with brands and businesses that are much bigger.
Yeah.
Only because if you do have a smaller following and you have like half a photo that you're kind of like, what is that? People may be confused, or, you could take the route of people may be enticed and want to go to your feed. The only thing I would say with that is a couple of different things. One is if it's just a photo for content that you're wanting to put out there, personally, I would probably put all three out at the same time. So that way, you know, you have three shots of people, you know, coming to your page to be like, what is this photo? Yep. Or if you are doing like a bigger announcement, maybe, and you're doing it over a period of 3 days, like you're putting a piece of the puzzle in each day, you know, that could be a way as well to bring people there. I think it looks cool on the feed, but I don't know.
Sweet.
That's a little bit more like maybe more personal.
That's a great answer. I just was curious. I saw it the other day, and then I was thinking about us talking about the way your feed looks and planning ahead. And you know, I was like, what is this picture? And I didn't even go to their profile, and I swiped up, and then like 3 or 4 photos later, I saw the next one, and I was like, oh, I know what this is. And I was like, I'm out.
Yeah. So you didn't go to the feed?
Nah.
No. Okay. See, and that's where I'm saying like it's kind of hit or miss, because there are, like, for me, I'd be like, oh, I want to see the full thing. So then I would click on the feed to go see it.
And I think this goes back to your point that, and I agree with this, that if you're your brand, or if you have a large following, you'll probably get a high rate of return on something like that. Yeah. This wasn't anybody too big to write home about. So I think I was like, well, they gave it a shot, but it's not my jam.
Gave it a shot. I will say something similar to that, which I think we talked about maybe in our last episode, was in the carousel post, you could do a similar thing where you have like half a photo in it, and then when you swipe, it's the other half of the photo. So it is like, you know, keeping the attention of the viewer, of your audience, of just, you know, being able to swipe through and seeing the rest of the content, if that makes sense. Like, you do engage people more because you're like, oh, I want to see the rest of that photo, but it's right there in one post versus clicking on the account and going there and seeing it all.
Yes, this I like.
People are lazy. So
yes,
it's true. Like, you need to capture your audience like that. So sometimes that's the better route of doing the carousel, you know, completion of a photo versus breaking it up into 3.
Yeah, and that's a large. So I follow Motor Trend, and I love their stuff because they'll show, you know, like half the front of the car, and instead of me having to like zoom in, I'm like, there's a half. I can swipe over and it flows into the other half, or like, you know, part of the interior and the rest of the interior that I can get behind. I will swipe through all 10 all day long.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I personally think those probably do better than doing, you know, 3 separate posts for a full photo, but
yep. You heard it here first, folks. Well, yeah, I'm sorry I pulled us off the track there, but I was definitely curious. So that'll be helpful for some of you as well. So
yeah. Well, no, so I right before that was going to say with planning your feed, you know, Cole and I talked about this just for his business and personal page as well, is you can go on Pinterest really and look for Instagram feed templates, and they will pop up so many ideas for you, whether that is color mapping. So you are, you know, placing photos in your feed that are going to be the best visually, just based on some of the content that you have. Or you can plan it out based on content. So it's really hard to like explain this without actually having a visual. So if you are listening to this, I will throw some up on our stories so that way you can see what we're actually talking about. But if you Google that, it'll pop up and you'll see. If you have a better way of explaining this than I do,
I don't think I don't think that you're explaining it in a bad way. It's just, again, this is the same way of like visualizing your feed. You know,
Correct.
instead of seeing pictures, you see, you know, a 3x3 grid of squares, and
Mhm.
they might be, you know, all part of the same, you know, color.
Color family scheme.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Color scheme. And it's just a way to kind of do it that way. Or some of them are just like, you know, here's a day for testimonial. Next one is, you know, a video. Next one's a photo, whatever. And
Yeah.
it's copying that formula over and
Yeah.
over.
Yes.
And they just show you a very nice little
Copying
map.
that formula. That's it. Yeah. So once you get like I mean, you could even do, you know, 3 separate grids. That's like about me or about the business, a testimonial, and then like something fun. And then you could literally just duplicate that whole, you know, number 3 or those 3 topics again and again and again. So then it gives you an idea of, you know, things to post about if you feel like you're stuck on, you know, figure out what content to post. That's a really good resource. And again, it's free. And at the very least, it'll at least give you some, you know, things to think about and brainstorm on and kind of like jump off of that idea to go to something different. So I think that's super helpful. So we're like word vomiting again. So let me kind of like condense some of that. 1, I think it's super smart to get an app where you're able to plan out your content. 2, I would stockpile content, whether that is photos, videos, you know, any kind of like graphic, and then searching different Instagram templates, or feed templates, really, to kind of get a good idea of how to plan out your content.
Boom. And of course, if you haven't picked up on it, we're speaking pretty exclusively to Instagram.
Yes.
But of course, if you can, the nice thing about that is if you have a plan for your Instagram, most of the time you can go, okay, all these can spread out across the other networks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah,
most of them don't have 8 places to post all within one scheme. So
right. Yeah. And you know, the bigger part of planning for Instagram is that when you go to people's feed, you're seeing all of the boxes at once.
Yes.
So if it looks messy, it doesn't look like there's a story to it, you kind of, your audience may not stay, which we've talked about that before. You know, making it visually appealing,
yes,
usually is helpful to, you know, maintain audience. But whereas like Facebook or Pinterest, they're not all gathered together in the same way. So it's kind of a different feel with those, you know, with those platforms.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, but it's real easy to kind of go from one to another as long as you've got a plan on one. And I think Instagram should be at the top. That way you can go, hey, I know what I'm going to post out here. And then it's easy. I mean, I do it all the time. It's like, I post this on Instagram. I just take the picture, copy the text in, and I'm like, Facebook feed. You know, it's easy to go from thing to thing. At least when you're going between the two of those. Yep. I know it can probably get a little more difficult as you go down the line, but you know, Twitter's a different format in general, so we won't even go there.
Yes. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to touch on in this episode is, you know, not just planning for your feed, but right now, Reels, you guys, I'm kicking myself because it's just another thing you have to do.
Yes.
But it is getting so much, like, that's just, it's happening so much now on Instagram. Like a big part of it is Reels. And people are growing significantly from being consistent on posting Reels. Even if it's not this amazingly curated video, just having content out on Reels. You guys, we all gotta jump on this train and we gotta do it now.
Yes, it's true.
Do it now.
It's a 30-second max though, just so everybody is aware.
Yes.
I've been researching this 30-second max, and good luck is all I have to say.
See, okay.
I'm struggling. We were going to do tutorials. We had a whole thing set up. We shot the first one, and I went to edit it, and I'm like, 30 seconds is too fast. It was just going by. And I was just like, trim it. And by the end, I'm like, nope, we're done. It's going to be 60 seconds, and I got to find something else for Reels. So we're still trying to figure it out.
So I will say, with that, you can do a part 1 and part 2.
Oh, that's true.
Like that's a lot of people do that as well, which is actually a great thing, because then people are like intrigued. They're like, oh,
right.
I need to see more. Give us.
I'll come back.
And come back for part 2. But just to give you an example of what I mean by being able to plan out your feed and your Reels. Okay, I haven't posted this yet, so you guys are getting a little sneak peek, I guess. But I have been meaning to do a quick like everyday makeup video, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do a Reels video of it, super quick. So I did the Reels, or I did a Reel video, and then I also took photos. So I will then plan to post a photo of the makeup look on my feed and talk about it. And then I will post the Reel the same day. So that's kind of a way to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Or if you're PETA, feed 2 birds with 1 stone. That's pretty good, right?
Or if you're Uncle Bill's, just light them on fire.
Oh my gosh. That is so upsetting. For those of you who don't know, oh my gosh.
Horrible.
The morning that we are recording this, Uncle Bill's pet shop caught fire and killed like 100 animals.
So there was like an office cat and like 2 fish that survived.
So I really this is terrible. So I know there were like dogs, cats, birds that died. I was like, I wonder about the fish. Right?
Just boiled.
Oh my gosh, do you think they did? That's probably
I'm sure some of them did, right? I mean, I'm sure water gets too hot, and fish are sensitive in general.
That's true. See, I didn't think of the fact that it would be like hot.
It's not good in general. I mean, it's and stores like that. Stores like that kind of suck anyways. But no, it's not good. So it was maybe a non-tasteful joke, but
yeah,
I'm here.
It was really bad. Anyway.
I mean, you were talking about killing birds before I was, so.
Hey, I said or feeding 2 birds with 1 scone. Okay, so feeding 2 birds with 1 scone, you can make a Reel, and based on what that Reel is, you can also, take a photo that may kind of go in line with that and be able to knock out 2, where you're posting them on the feed, and then you've also have something for your Reels as well. So,
short form content is just a difficult thing for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to get it figured out, but it's like 30 seconds.
Yeah. And you don't even have to, the other thing too is you don't have to fully make up the content either. Scrolling through Reels, if there's a video that you like or something that's funny, or something that kind of relates to your brand a little bit, save the audio and go back later and make, videos. So I have now, Instagram knows that I'm pregnant. So they're showing me all of the pregnant Reels. I'm like, oh, that's funny. That's good. So I've been saving all of these audios, and I can go back later and make the videos and just post them. So if you're stuck for ideas, like you feel like you have to make up all of the Reels ideas, you don't. you can just scroll through reels and see what you like. If there's something that, like I said, kind of goes with your brand, save it for later and make one of your own.
That's true. And that's just my lack of knowledge when it comes to TikTok. I know that's a carryover from TikTok for sure. That I just forget that you can go, oh no, you can use the audio, and then I see that a lot.
Yep. Yeah. So whenever you pull up Reels and you click audio, you can click saved audio. So any of the audios that you've saved, you can just use from that.
Nice.
Now take a shot every time I said audio and saved.
I like it. Okay. No, that actually helps a lot. So for those of you out there that are struggling just as much as I am with Reels, there you go. There's your tidbit.
You know what? To be totally transparent, which you would be able to see if you followed me, today is the first day that I've posted a reel. I posted my first reel.
I saw that. I was looking at it. I was like, I wonder what Liv's reels look like. And I pulled up Instagram and I was like, what?
I know. Just today. I posted one just today. But today, I was telling Cole I was super productive today. We had a snow day, snowed in. So I was like, okay, I got to use this time. So then I started making a bunch of planning out content and doing reels and all of that. So my goal is to be a lot more consistent with reels.
Sweet. We're going to be watching you.
All eyes. All eyes.
But yes, no, it's an up and coming game, and it is an opportunity to jump on it. So I agree with Liv. I just, I tend to overthink these things, but eventually we'll figure it out. But it's a big part of the platform. And I know I listened to a podcast not too long ago. I might've mentioned it here. I know I've talked to Liv about this, but they had the head of Instagram on there, and he said they're going to be putting a lot of features and a lot of time and effort into developing that part of the app. So jump on while it's early.
I mean, just to give you an idea and maybe some encouragement, I don't know. There is somebody that I have seen on Instagram who said that she was able to grow her followers to, she grew 30,000 followers, which granted she's in a bigger category of influencers. Like she does have definitely more followers. But even for her to grow 30,000 in a period of, what'd you say, 3 weeks, a month maybe? And that was solely from being consistent with reels. She said, I've never seen that type of growth. And if you think about it, it does make sense, because if you scrolled through reels before, you are getting, view, or you're looking at people who you don't follow or who you would have never found on your own. Right. So if you're doing that for yourself and constantly putting out content, your stuff is going to constantly be shown on reels. And with the whole algorithm thing, it starts popping up, your videos with people who would kind of be following the same type of content. So
it's smart. And that's crazy though. Oh my gosh, 30,000. That's fast.
Yeah. Crazy.
Holy crap.
I'm going to track how I do with reels and kind of that growth. And obviously, it's not all just for followers, but seeing how that engagement grows as well. So
you'll have to report back. Well, you got anything else on your list there, Liv?
I don't think so.
I think we've dropped a lot of knowledge on them. Yo.
That was my knowledge noise.
So yeah, I mean that's organizing and planning. I am gonna go ahead and just throw this out there, and Liv knows nothing about this yet, but I think I know what we're gonna talk about in the next episode, and everybody needs to do me a favor, and Liv, if you haven't seen it, you got to watch this, and we're going to talk about it next episode. Have you seen Fake Famous yet on HBO?
No.
Okay. That's your homework, and if you need an account, I'll help you out. But for those of you that haven't seen it, it's a documentary on HBO Max, and it has a lot to do with what Liv and I do and what we talk about on the show. It's a social media based documentary. I suggest you watch it because there will be spoilers, and Liv and I will talk about it the next time and talk about some of these methods that are talked about in the documentary. And yeah, that's all I'm going to give you, just a tidbit of it. But it's some super interesting ways to grow your following. Let's just put it at that. So look out for that. And yeah, we should be back on the consistent every other week train. So we'll get this out, and yeah, then we'll be back with that episode. And of course, as usual, you guys can ask us questions and contact us through the Instagram page or Facebook page or wherever. And we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. And then just keep watch. We'll kind of put together a list of planning apps so you can kind of look into that and see what you feel like is going to work best for you, as well as Instagram template or feed templates. We'll put some of those together as well so you guys can have just some better ideas of how to plan out your content. So
look at that. We're going to be your one-stop shop.
Boom.
Everybody stay safe. Thanks for listening, and tell a friend. Listen to some older episodes. Maybe catch up on some of the old Life and Lattes episodes. We got lots of stuff to offer. Go to the Instagram page, whatever. Liv's always posting stuff there. And yeah, we appreciate everybody. And as long as we don't get more snow, everybody should be good.
Oh, it's like half the country or better. With snow.
Yeah. Well,
oh my gosh.
I'll take the snow over the ice.
That's true, I guess. All right, people. We're #out. That's good. How have we never done that before?